The biggest headline news today is that the NWSL and the PA have secured freedom over their careers, announcing a brand new CBA in 2024 for the NWSL. Exciting news all across the league and with the PA. And for more on all of this, we are so pleased to welcome in NWSL PA President Tori Huster and Executive Director Meghann Burke to break down everything in this CBA, because we're not lawyers, but we know you two know how to read it. Congratulations, Meghann and Tori. I mean, this is groundbreaking. This is exciting. This is celebratory. Tori, what is the biggest point in the CBA that you are most proud of?
I can't even say just one biggest point. There's so many that I can point to, so many that when I read through the document over and over again, there will be another point that I know that we were able to acquire for the players. I think the headlines that we're seeing, though, that we've voiced this morning, guaranteed contracts, free agency for all, no trades without player consent, those types of player rights issues right off the bat really do it for me. I would have loved to have those things through the length of my career, and I'm really, really proud of the fact that we've got those for players now.
Tori, I like that you constantly have new ones and they're changing all the time throughout this day. All right, Meghann, for you, which one are you most proud of?
Well, first of all, thank you all for having us here. We're so excited to finally get to talk about this new collective bargaining agreement, and it's great to be with all of you. As Tori said, there's a lot to be proud of in this contract, and not just as players, but the whole NWSL ecosystem. I think we recognized an opportunity to truly create the most elite league in the world, to level up to the rest of the world on global standards like free agency, guaranteed contracts, no trades without player consent, but also embrace some of the uniquely American commercial concepts like revenue sharing and a collectively bargained salary cap that ensures players can now make long-term commitments to these clubs, even in free agency, and ensure that for the foreseeable future, NWSL is ready to take on the rest of the world.
I love it. It's been such a long time coming, and I just love seeing where you guys are and how far the league has gone, especially even since I retired. There's just been leaps and bounds. What can you tell us about what's going to be effective immediately? Because we know the contract is the CBA goes until 2030, but what happens right now that benefits the players?
Well, most immediately, I'm really excited for the upcoming free agency window opening on September 1st. That is right around the corner, just days away. We anticipate about 100 or more players will be free agents when the window opens on September 1st and free to negotiate contracts that begin January 1st, 2025. They now know what the salary cap for next year is going to look like. And there are some other provisions in this contract that are going to level up the playing experience. NWSL's hired a field services specialist, for example. Oof. And my daughter is saying hello. Sorry, guys. This is family vacation week, of course. So there's a number of things that are going to improve the playing experience immediately. And then a number of things that, it didn't make sense to change the rules in the middle of a season. So, for example, contracts will be guaranteed after the initial termination date. Every new contract will be guaranteed. And there's some other things that you'll see take effect next year. But I will say for the salary cap, one of the things that's pretty neat is this year's shareable media and sponsorship revenues will inform next year's salary cap on top of the collectively bargained base salary cap. So there's a number of things that do take effect immediately.
Amazing. Meghann and Tori, thanks again for joining us today. Such an exciting day for all of us. Meghann, I have a question for you. So we definitely also saw from the new CBA that was announced this morning, there was increased number of health professionals that will be around the team. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And my personal question that we also want to know, it's very important, how are we going to keep the teams accountable for that? Because we know the teams, they definitely have different structure in the NWSL. So how are we going to keep them accountable for that?
Well, the union is still needed moving forward. I'm not planning on leaving this job anytime soon. So that'll be my job and the union's job to ensure that the CBA is complied with. And that's what we do every single day. The central function of a union is to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement. But then moving forward, it's just words on paper unless we actually live into it. And thankfully, we've got really great partners at the league and at all the teams that work hard to implement these agreements once they're executed and entered into. Things come up and sometimes things are solved with just a phone call. And sometimes if we do have a genuine disagreement, we have a collectively bargained process for that. we certainly don't expect or anticipate that we're going to need to pursue that mechanism right away, but it's there if ever you need it. I would say on the health front, there are a number of things. Look, there's a Club World Cup coming online in 2026, qualifying that's happening right now. There's an increased number of competitions. Under the new contract, the season may get longer. We may see more games, expansions coming online. And so the flip side of the increased demands on players is managing that workload with adequate, guardrails around game frequency, rest, recovery, players having access to their data, being able to monitor their own health. And then on the team staff side, we're going to see, for example, instead of under our previous contract, there was one massage therapist that's required. Now there's two. We're going to have an additional physical therapist. The players do a lot more than just train, as Darian knows. During the hours that you have a training session, you have prehab, rehab, lifts in the afternoon. We've got sports scientists, strength and conditioning. I guess now that's what we called it when I was playing. Now it's high performance. Forgive me. But yeah, and then we're increasing the staff that are required to travel with the team away. But then, of course, teams need to carry enough staff for players who aren't traveling with the team to be able to continue to train when they're still back in market. So I appreciate the question because it does speak to all the ways in which our ecosystem is leveling up, not just on the more headline grabbing pieces like free agency and compensation.
Meghann, how is the PA putting structures into place to help players make educated decisions about what is best for them in their careers?
Well, so one of the things that I think is important to point out is that the flip side of this conversation around free agency is also loyalty. You've got a player in this call who played every one of her 11 seasons for the same team, the Washington Spirit. Tori's a long-time veteran of NWSL. I think there's something powerful in a player and a team mutually agreeing to enter into a relationship together and continuing every single day to earn the right to be in that relationship and to make the decision to renew that relationship. So I think we're going to see longer lasting relationships between teams and players when there's freedom of choice involved and players are choosing to make a commitment to a team. Really excited to see with this upcoming free agency window, what choices players make. We provide our players with a lot of resources and information so they understand the labor market, but they also understand what considerations might go into play in negotiating a contract. It's not always about where you can make the most money. We certainly think that's important. We want players to get paid. Getting paid well is important to the union. But there's also, where can I win a championship? Where can I get minutes? Is there a coach that I want to play for? Are there players I want to play with or a certain city I want to be in? It's not only about compensation, although that is a major factor. It's also about this short window of time that professional athletes have to be elite professional athletes and trying to make the most of that window of opportunity that they've got.
Tori, for players that are coming out of college and previously they just enter the draft, they show up at the convention and they hope they get chosen and they go to that team. Now they are free agents and they get to choose where they want to go. Are there any resources available for those collegiate players who would have entered the draft to learn more about teams or players or styles, or as Meghann said, which teams are potentially eligible to win a championship?
I think that's the beauty of, having a broadcast deal and players being able to watch the teams play. You can pick up a lot of nuance through a 90-minute match and how a team chooses to play as opposed to another. I think there's something to be said about how small the soccer world is, and things can travel by word of mouth. And I think that will be of great use to collegiate players that are looking to enter the league. I know that college coaches, for as long as I've known, have been a very valuable resource to their players, especially if they're looking to make that jump to the next level. The networking that is available and very useful for these players is there. We will be a resource to anyone that's looking to join the league. We certainly value having very good players and very interested players in our league, and we'll always look out for them. I think something that you've seen as a shift over the last couple of years is that more and more players are represented by agents, and there are some very good agents in our league that will be able to help players get to a market that they will really thrive in. I think that there are a number of things at each level that will be just really, really helpful for younger athletes that are looking to join the league. And certainly the players that are in the league will do their best to pass on any information that will be helpful.
In a way, Tori, this new CBA, because of the draft elimination, it's kind of giving back the freedom, right, to the players to decide where they want to go. But Meghann, you mentioned that some of the changes are going to be effective immediately. My question is, I heard that also the bonuses are increasing, they're doubling, they're tripling. Is that also included for this season?
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing. So that is great news.
I can elaborate, but yes.
Go ahead. No. So if you want to talk to us about the bonuses as well, which is a huge change and a very positive too for the MVP and also the Golden Boot winner, the Shield winner, that's also expected for this season.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think it's important when we're talking about the bonus structure to acknowledge the role that sponsors play in this ecosystem. We did collectively bargain over a bonus structure in our first contract. And very quickly, you saw that sponsors were prepared to pay more than what we had negotiated for in the CBA. And so I think that's an important acknowledgement that we're seeing more money come into the system. We're seeing blue chip brands, fantastic sponsors come in like Ally. We've got the league has a whole list of blue chip sponsors. You can go to their website and see who they are. And I hope that all of you use their products because we are certainly loyal to the people who show up for us. But I think, that I say that because we've already seen that bonuses are higher than what's in the CBA. And we're going to see that, I think, that trend continue. So even the numbers you just cited that we increased the minimum, it's really matching, I think, where the market is. And there are some pieces that we needed to negotiate for in the CBA, and some others that we think the market itself will solve, which is kind of a funny thing for a union leader to say. But we've seen that be true in the last few years. So I do anticipate that the numbers are going to be even higher than what you see in our CBA during the period of this contract.
Meghann, it's all about the money. Duda's like, give me the money.
That's right.
Let's go.
Pay the players.
And the players.
Here for it.
See?
Exactly. Tori, this negotiation and this CBA came much earlier than people expected. The first CBA wasn't initially up until 2026. The negotiations happened and a new one has already been signed. So what was the catalyst for starting these negotiations so early?
Yeah, I think it was the time. The league has certainly evolved. We've seen increased investment. We've seen the momentum throughout women's sports. And it was time to come back to the table, and credit to the league. They were the ones that sent, a letter recommending that we come back to voluntary bargaining. We had already kind of had that on our radar as well. I think what we saw last year in several of the international teams that kind of bummed out of the World Cup early. USA, Brazil, Canada were knocked out early in that tournament. And I think that kind of got the conversation going a little bit like, is the world going to pass us by here, or are we going to do something about it? And I think that was kind of that was the catalyst for us coming back to the table to negotiate some better terms. And I think we've done well there. The league has evolved, and we have gotten some really good aspects of this contract. Certainly, the revenue sharing, I think, is one of the things that is huge for this. And looking forward to seeing what the next couple of years looks like.
Well, the league has surely evolved. Duda actually reminded me earlier of #no more side hustles and what an era that was for the PA and the NWSL players. But I wanted to ask, obviously there's so much work done in this CBA for years to come, and the game is going to continue evolving, and women's soccer and the NWSL is just going to take over the world as it already is. Is there anything maybe you were wanting to include in this CBA that you're already thinking for the next iteration of the CBA that, that's the next goal? You're just looking ahead?
Well, I can tell you that's my job, is always be thinking around corners. Not Tori. She's
yeah.
Yes,
Megan's got a document already.
It's called job security, right? So look, what I would say is that we achieved our highest priorities in this contract. And when I say we, I don't just mean the union, the players. When the players win, the whole ecosystem wins. That's our philosophy. And so this levels up the entire league. This is good for teams. This is good for the league itself. This is a good deal for everyone. We all had to work very hard to get to this outcome. It was not an easy negotiation by any stretch. And I think each of us have a different role to play, but, credit to the league and the teams for being willing to make a pretty rapid evolution. And, in this contract, and you look at our first contract to this one, this league is going to continue to take off. Year-over-year growth, I anticipate, is going to be exponential, probably beyond anything we could predict or anticipate today based on today's assumptions. And so I would expect in the next negotiation that revenue sharing, increased compensation, I think, Judah, you said it earlier, show me the money, right? That's always going to be at the heart of a negotiation. But one of the things I feel really good about is that we negotiated a collectively bargained base salary cap that ensures year-over-year increases in base salary in compensation and injecting enough money into the system over the term, while also adopting revenue sharing that more closely aligns incentives so that as the league grows in terms of media and sponsorship, so too will player compensation. I would anticipate future iterations of this agreement will evolve on that concept.
Meghann, Tori, congratulations. This is absolutely incredible. And thank you for sharing your time and diving a little deeper on the CBA. Tori, I don't know how close you are to the beach, but Meghann, I hope you get right out there into the sun by the ocean to enjoy this and celebrate today.
Thank you for that. I'm not far from Tori. I'm trying to convince her to come down to the beach with the kids here in a minute. So
yeah,
we're
enjoy
about
it.
to go down there.
You don't have to convince us.
Thank you very much.